So, what if your own brain was holding your body hostage? It sounds like something out of a movie, right? But for some people who deal with really profound dizziness, that's exactly what it feels like. Today, we're going to dive into the incredible neuroscience behind this so-called statue strategy, and we'll do it through the story of a patient named Sarah. So, meet Sarah. For the last 6 months, her entire world has just been a dizzying, unpredictable blur. And to cope with it, her brain has made a pretty drastic decision. It's essentially decided to turn her into a living statue. Every single movement is stiff, her whole torso moves as one piece, her eyes are glued to the floor, all in this desperate attempt to find some stability in a world that just won't stop spinning.
It's a good question, right? Why on earth would the brain do this? Why would it trade natural, easy movement for this rigid, protective shell? The answer, as it turns out, has nothing to do with weak muscles. It's all about a tiny split-second failure in one of the most critical, high-speed systems in our brain. Yeah, it all comes down to a problem of timing, an error that happens, literally, faster than you can blink. We're talking about a breakdown that occurs in just a matter of milliseconds, a tiny glitch with absolutely massive consequences.
Okay, so to get what's going wrong, we first need to meet the hero of our story, the vestibulo-ocular reflex, or just VOR for short. The best way to think about this is like your brain's built-in GPS and stabilization system all rolled into one. It's the reason you can read a street sign while you're walking, or keep your eyes on the car in front of you even when you turn your head. It's always on, working in the background to keep your world from becoming a shaky mess.
And when I say high speed, I mean it. A healthy VOR works in just 5 milliseconds. That is unbelievably fast. I mean, it is one of the quickest reflexes in the entire human body. So, what happens when this incredible, lightning-fast system fails?
Well, for patients like Sarah, that 5-millisecond reflex is essentially broken, and this creates what's known as a sensory mismatch. Just imagine your eyes and your inner ear, your balance center, are sending completely conflicting messages to your brain at the same time. The result? A simple turn of the head sends her world into a chaotic tailspin, and that triggers a really primal fear response.
Now, the brain is, a remarkable problem solver. It always has a backup plan. But here's the twist in our story. That backup system is precisely what's trapping Sarah. This is what we call the 100-millisecond trap.
So, your brain really has 2 navigators. You've got navigator number 1, that super fast 5-millisecond vestibular system we just talked about, and then you have the backup, navigator number 2, our visual system. But, and this is the crucial part, our vision is slow. It takes about 100 milliseconds to process what it sees and then react. Just look at that. That's a 20-fold difference in speed. Our visual system just isn't built for the rapid, constant adjustments of daily life. Relying on it for balance is kind of like trying to play a fast-paced video game with a really bad internet connection. There's this huge lag, and it's just impossible to keep up.
Okay, so here's the chain reaction that leads to the statue strategy. Step 1, the high-speed VOR fails. Step 2, the brain, in a total panic, shifts all of its reliance over to the much slower visual system. And then, step 3, to give that slow system a fighting chance to catch up, the brain sends out a global command, freeze. By locking the body in place, it dramatically reduces the amount of movement and data the visual system has to process. And just like that, the statue is born.
But this strategy creates another problem. Because Sarah can no longer trust her internal sense of balance, that GPS is offline, she becomes overly reliant on cues from the outside world. She develops what's called surface dependency, basically using her feet to constantly feel the ground, almost like she's using them as a second pair of eyes to navigate her world.
So, the big question is, how do we help Sarah break free? How do we get her out of this statue-like state? Well, the solution isn't about trying to fix a broken part. It's about retraining her entire brain. It's about helping her reboot her internal GPS by understanding this war that's happening between different signals.
The key to all of this is something called neuroplastic competition. The easiest way to think about it is this. Imagine your brain is a radio, and it can only tune in to one station at a time. The station that's the loudest, or the one you use most often, is the one that gets all the attention. Right now, Sarah's brain is tuned into the slow but very loud signals coming from her eyes and her feet.
So, the goal of therapy is actually really simple and kind of elegant. We need to make the weak vestibular signal louder again. We have to somehow force the brain to start paying attention to that faster, more efficient pathway, even if it's been damaged.
And how do we crank up the volume on that vestibular signal? By challenging it hard. The treatment involves specific exercises that push the limits of head speed, creating situations where the slow visual system simply can't keep up. This forces the brain, out of necessity, to re-engage with and reprioritize that faster vestibular system.
And through this process, slowly but surely, Sarah's brain learns to let go of that rigid protective strategy. It's a journey from a state of constant fear and protection to a state of adaptation and fluidity. It's basically teaching the brain that it doesn't need to hold the body captive just to experience the world.
So, if we boil this all down, what are the big takeaways? First, and this is huge, that statue-like rigidity isn't just muscle stiffness, it's a deliberate protective strategy created by the brain. Second, this is all a timing problem, a 5-millisecond failure leading to a 100-millisecond trap. Third, the way out isn't about taking it slow, it's about high-speed training to force the brain to rewire itself. And finally, the whole goal is to downregulate that stiffness and upregulate the VOR, bringing the whole system back into balance.
And all of this leads us to a really powerful final thought. Sarah's journey shows us that the path back to stability isn't always about avoiding challenges, but about facing them head on. It leaves us with a fascinating question. To truly find our balance, not just physically, but in all parts of our lives, do we first have to be willing to challenge it?